We wired the onPress event for every deal, and now we can go to a deal detail view. It's now time to fetch the extra details from the server. We're going to need another AJAX function. In ajax.js, just like the fetch initial deals function, we now need another function. We'll call this function fetch deal detail. And this function is going to need the deal ID, because that's how we're going to use the API. We need a deal ID to ask the API server for information on one deal. So the code here is exactly the same, except that we want to do / here and add the deal ID. And this should work to give us information on a single deal. By the way, I don't need these to be let variables. I'm going to change them all to just const. Whenever you can use const, you should. There's actually an ESLint rule for that. So if I undo this to let and go to my ESLint file, the rule is to prefer const. And we'll do that as an error. So with this rule in this Ajax file, it's going to tell you use const instead of let. This is simply perfect. Thank you, ESLint. Okay, cool. Now we can test this function, fetch deal detail. So in the deal detail component, we want to bring in the Ajax actions. So import Ajax from up one level, Ajax. And we can fire this new fetch deal detail function when the component mounts, because eventually we want to place the information coming back from the fetch deal detail function on the state of the component. So we need component did mount. And we need to call ajax.fetch deal detail. And in here, pass the ID for the deal, which is on every deal is stored as the key. Remember? So in here, we can do this.state.deal.key. This is an Ajax action, so we want to await on it, which means we want to make this into async. And this will give me deal detail. So let's name this constant full deal. And we can console log full deal to see what we're working with, but eventually we want to set the state and change the state deal to be full deal. Previous state is not used, so this can be simplified to the object syntax. Remember that the shared information between the initial deal data and the full deal data is going to stay the same with this set state call. So React is only going to render the new information in here. So let's go ahead and test all that. Refresh, go in here, and now I have the full deal information in here. So we have a cause and charity, we have a description, we have a geolocation in case the deal is only offered in a particular place. And we also have user information. And the user information has an avatar for the user and the name of the user. So let's display at least the description and the user information. So I'll go ahead and do that. Get rid of this console log. And in here, we can now display the user information. So I'll place that in its own view. And in here, we need two things. We need an image component for the avatar of the user. So the source of this image component is URI is deal.user.avatar. Now we're going to need some special style for this image component. And we also need to display the user name. So we'll do something like deal.user.name. We need an equal sign in here. And let's figure out the style for the avatar. So styles.avatar. And if we test this URL that's coming from the avatar right here, just to see what we're working with. So it looks like we have an image that is 60 pixels by 60 pixels. So we'll make that the height and width for the avatar. So in here we'll do avatar is width 60, height 60. So I think this should do for the user. Let's also have another view for the description. So in here, we'll do a text and we'll do deal.description. Let's test. Click on the deal, and cannot read avatar of undefined. So this is happening because the initial data did not have a user property. And we're trying to read the user property on the initial data as well. By the way, this is the type of problem that a type checker tool like Flow or TypeScript would detect for you. So you don't have to go actually see the error. The tool is going to tell you you're using .user.avatar. What about the case when .user is null? But I don't want to overwhelm the example. I want to try and keep things simple. The solution here is really simple. We can make this whole view conditional on the existence of the user property on the deal. So I'll just do that. I'll have a conditional here and do something like deal.user and end this view. Format everything. There you go. So only show this view if there is a deal.user. Let's test. Click on a deal, and there you go. We've got the author, we've got the description. Before we move on and add another feature to this application, let's style this view a little bit and make it look decent. I'll do that off camera. Here are the styles that I came up with. You can find them in the GitHub repository. By the way, if you want to inspect the styles, you can do so using the inspector here. Now, this inspector works in two modes. If the React DevTools is not running, it will show an overlay here, and you can click on things to see their styles. For example, click on the description, and you'll see what we have here, styles for the description. If the React DevTools is running, then clicking on any element with the inspector is going to highlight that element in the DevTools. And it will also show any styles that element has right here. So you can see the styles that I added, for example, for this row. I made the flex direction row, justify content spaces around, align item center. And then inside this view, I have the view for the information right here, and the view for the user right here. And you can see every style applied to that element right here in the React DevTools. And this is really handy. The other feature that I used while coming up with these styles is the hot reloading. Let me show you what that means. So let's say you're in this view and you want to do some changes to the style. So if you only have the live reload, that means when you change something here, React Native is going to reload the app. So for example, if I want to make the margin horizontal 15 instead of 12, and I save, React Native is going to reload the app, but I lost my state. I am back to the main page, not the page where I was on. So that's not ideal. Instead, you can enable hot reloading. And hot reloading is going to reload the app without losing your state. So if I want to set this back to 12 and I save, React Native is going to hot reload the app without losing the state. And this is very helpful. However, it doesn't work all the times. So sometimes you have to manually reload the app. But for most cases, it's really helpful when you want, for example, to test things without losing the state of the application.